Steve, are you still in charge of the button?
Yeah, you're live, man. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, welcome to Jupyter Dev meeting for November 21st, 2017. To start us off, we have Jessica Ford at PyCon Canada talking about documentation.
Hi, everyone. Greetings from Montreal. The sprints have been going very well, and they're all looking at me now because they see that I'm like talking and they think I'm like talking to them. But yeah, so we've been going pretty well with the sprints. People have been working on a lot of things actually related to building documentation. So you probably have been seeing a lot of that. Also, people are working on other issues that have been labeled now as good first issue or help wanted, which has been pretty helpful, I think, in terms of the sprint so far. I'm also helping out with the blog post for Binder, and that's related also to our documenting the process for blogging on Medium. So it seems as if we're still working out some of the kinks with regards to authorship on Medium, because for bigger blog posts, we might want to have more than one author. And originally we had suggested that we wanted to have specifically one author for a submission on Medium. But that process is coming along. And thanks again to everyone who has been responding to the issues and pull requests that are coming through. We've been having a lot with pull requests on IPyWidgets and on Jupyter Hub and Binder and IPython and NVGrader. So thanks again for everybody getting back to people at PyCon Canada. It's been really great.
Great, thanks. Next we have Grant with the notebook.
All right, so it looks like there is a little issue that's affecting Binder, a notebook on Binder, and it's related to cookies. And so it looks like we're going to do a little patch release 5.2.2 to get that in there. And then I see that Thomas added that we have translations for Korean in the notebook, so that's awesome. Probably hold off and release that with the next major or next minor release. Cool. Thomas, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I didn't think so.
Okay. Yep, that's all for notebook.
Okay, Jupyter Lab.
All right, we have a 150,000 or so line PR to add Yarn to the repo. Most of that was the binary of Yarn itself, and what that gives us is a pinned package manager. So we're not relying on whatever package manager someone brings to do the builds. So in addition to having a pinned package manager, we have a pinned log file. So we get reproducibility, we get speedier builds and development process. So a lot of big wins coming out of switching to Yarn. Really excited about that as someone working on the project itself. Also, we are now no longer blocked on having terminal support on Windows, at least when using Python 3. So there's an open PR in Terminato, but it looks like we might move the Terminato repo itself to the Jupyter org so that Thomas and I can sort of maintain that from the two ends, POSIX and not POSIX. So really excited to see that coming. Darian is coming along great with the user settings that allow inline comments and validation as you're typing. So it's actually validating against a schema and giving you the schema error if something goes wrong. So if you type something that should have been a Boolean and you type a string, it'll tell you exactly what went wrong, and you get that live feedback as you're typing. So that's coming soon. Damian gave a talk at PyCon Argentina about Jupyter Lab that was well received. And it looks like there's a video coming soon in Spanish and Espanol. And Ian has been working hard on the refactor of the menu system to have semantic menus so that we have the top level menu structure is more like a standard application. Instead of having one per plugin, there's extensible top level menus, including file menu and edit menu, so that other plugins can add content and it's seamlessly presented to the user. And
Cool.
that's it.
So I have a Terminator question, or Terminator question. With regards to the moving over of the org, are we planning on also adopting a change in the license structure to be consistent with our norms for licensing with Jupyter, or are we planning on keeping it consistent with what has been previously used? I'm just looking over the license, and it doesn't look exactly the same, and I just wanted.
The license itself, I intend to leave as it was. So it was Terminado was originally a project called PyXterm that I took from somebody else who wasn't really maintaining it and changed quite substantially. So I think the license itself will stay as it is. I've cleaned up the structure of where the files are and the copyright notices and things to comply with our conventions.
Yeah, makes sense.
Steve, I had a question for you that might benefit other people who are also working on JLab. Should we add the yarn lock file to our git ignores now? Because it does change as I'm developing, and I wasn't sure what the workflow is supposed to be.
No, that's actually supposed to be checked in. That's the recommended workflow from the Yarn folks.
So no, not that it's supposed to be checked in. What I mean is, as I'm developing, there's changes that appear in it. Should I also commit those changes that appear in my? Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
those are meant to be diffable, inspectable changes.
Okay, cool, got it. Thanks.
Yeah, we've been wondering about whether we should be, now that NPM does lock files by default too, wondering whether we should be committing lock files and things in NBDime and everywhere. It's not 100% clear what the best route is.
I can't speak to the NPM 5 package lock. Don't have any experience.
It's the same, I think, as Yarn.
In theory.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I think generally it's you should lock if you're developing an application and not lock if you're on a library. That was the kind of the guidance I got from Yarn.
Okay.
Kind of flip flop on that, but that one seems like it applies the best because you need the libraries to keep moving forward. So I don't know. So I guess that would mean NBDime and Jupyter Lab, the app, should have a lock file.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, you don't have a lock for each individual library like in the mono repo.
Right.
Yeah, that's how we're doing it in one top level lock file.
Okay, makes sense.
IPyWidgets and the Jupyter renderers repo, which are both learner repos, are switching over to using Yarn at the top level as well.
Do you have an intuition about whether this will sort of seamlessly merge, or do you think it might create more merge conflicts as we rebase?
It's possible they would conflict. I guess time will tell.
And is there a Yarn tool to settle merge conflicts, or is that a thing we do by hand? Like, will anyone ever touch the Yarn lock file by hand?
Yeah, it's possible, and yeah, that's why it's sorted and as human readable as possible, so that you can do the hand merge conflict.
Okay, cool. Got it.
I think I know a tool that can handle merges of JSON documents. Yeah, sorry. Jupyter widgets. Do we have any widget folks? I don't see any widget folks. Going once? No?
So I do have a comment on the Yarn thing.
Yeah, sure.
So this was in a post from them a while ago. Instead of doing a resolution when there's a conflict, if you run yarn install, Yarn will detect that there were merge conflict markers in the package and resolve them for you.
Oh, nice.
I don't know how well that works though.
Cool.
Oh,
Can't wait to
awesome.
see that in action.
Yeah, I hope that works. That sounds awesome. Thanks, Kyle.
So you just, when in doubt, run yarn install. Okay, looks like we got nothing on widgets. MB convert. I don't think M is here, so nothing there. I don't. And services also. Miss Peters here. I don't see. I don't think anything's happening there right now. We're a bit behind on some Docker stacks and NB viewer things that need to get done, but people are a bit spread thin. And moving on to Jupyter Hub and Binder, there's a lot of work going on, especially on the Helm and Kubernetes side of the Binder deployment itself, and the Helm chart for Jupyter Hub, which should have its 0.5 release as soon as we can get some documentation coverage and some testing things there. But that's coming along pretty well. Matthias, I think you've got something. Oh, and we have related to it. As mentioned earlier, the blog posts, a few blog posts in different places on the Binder stuff are coming together. And Matthias, you had something about Firefox?
Yeah, I have experimental Firefox extensions that add a launch on Binder button in the toolbar. Right now, it's always active and just do nothing when you're not on GitHub. And I've published it on addons.mozilla.org, which is way faster at approving applications than Apple is. It took them probably something like 10 minutes to approve it. Still trying to understand, like, it's SVG for icons are supposed to work and stuff like that, but they're not working, and it takes some time to go through the approval process again to get that updated. But yeah, if you want to contribute, it's still under my account. Maybe at some point when it's more stable, I might move it into one of the Jupyter org. I would also be happy if one of you have an account on addons.mozilla.org to also give them access, just not to have a burst factor of 1. If anything happened to me right now, I'm the only one who can update the extensions or transfer it. So yeah, if any of you have an account, send your username to me and I will add you as an owner. I think that's about it.
Cool. Interact?
Yeah, it's just been a bunch of refactoring. I think we're going to end up with a new release really soon. I think I've accidentally improved a lot of performance just because there was a big mess in React land for Interact. It was just too much state being passed around. Yeah, but nothing too crazy going on.
Okay. IPython, Thomas?
I don't think there's anything to talk about regarding IPython. The next section on the notes is also one I put in, which is about Jupyter Client. So we added the kernel, some new kernel discovery machinery a few weeks back, which allows the kernel discovery classes, plugins, to return a kernel manager as a way of starting a kernel, which may be on a remote machine or in a container or something like that. I realized while I was doing something on the Qt console code that Qt console relies on starting kernels with its own Qt compatible kernel manager, which kind of raises the question of which side gets to pick kernel manager / how can we split up kernel manager into bits of functionality that the front end gets to pick and bits of functionality that the kernel provider gets to pick. So it's probably too detailed to try and discuss in the meeting, but I've put the link in there. If people could have a look, that would be useful. Because if we have to change that machinery, I don't want to start writing code using it until we've worked out how we need to change it.
Right.
And then the other note I put in was, as we just discussed, Terminado has moved into being a Jupyter project.
Cool. What do we have next? Conferences and workshops. Lots of events here. Anything anybody wants to highlight beyond the notes? Looks like we've got PyData New York. Just talking with Jupyter Lab is coming up next, and PyData meetup in Paris where Mattia is going to be. And lots more things coming up on the horizon.
Oh, just one quick gee whiz.
Yeah.
The new Firefox releases with the Quantum engine are now, instead of lagging way behind in performance, they perform equally well with large notebooks in Jupyter Lab. So that's great news. We're no longer blocked on that. Really impressed with the way they've been fixing that up.
Cool.
Yeah, Firefox is awesome again. Let it be heard.
Been a while. Okay. I think that's everything. Oh, and there's we're putting together the annual for folks who've probably gotten an email. They're putting together the annual grant report for the Jupyter Hub grants. So people may be soliciting paragraphs and things from folks on the status of the project and what we've been doing. And there will probably be a lot of writing going on in the next couple weeks. Okay, I think that's everything. Anybody want to get in under the wire? All right. Thanks, everyone.